So I have seen on Twitter a number of influencers trying to persuade their audiences that the Bitcoin whales and institutions are buying, when this isn't naturally what is going on. It's not the truth of the matter. So I wanted to kind of jump into some data, talk through what I see going on, and hopefully clear up any form of confusion here. So as I get into the video, if you find it useful and informative, smash the like button. I do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and in doing so you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. If you haven't yet joined us in Discord, why not go ahead and check it out, linked in the description below. Let's jump right down into this video and get right into it, right? So we will come back down into the price action here. We'll talk about what's going on with the price charts. But before we do that, I just wanted to come up into our data, our on-chain data. Okay, so on here, there's a few things to kind of talk about. And just brief kind of summary over kind of what's been going on previously and where we are right now. So as you can see, top right hand corner here, we have 4.5750 million Bitcoin going onto the exchanges since the 1st of January 2023, and we have 4.5706 million coming off the exchanges since the 1st of January 2023, and that means that 4.38 thousand Bitcoin remains on the exchanges, more than has come off. This essentially is actually pretty interesting to kind of look at it, because we were higher not that long ago. We've obviously were in a bit of a bearish state. Now we're slightly in a bullish state. More Bitcoin flowing away from the exchanges than is going on the exchanges. And so the question becomes, who is it flowing to? Who is putting it on there and who is taking it off, right? Very important. But one of the things that we can notice here is that we haven't really got terribly too much changes across this entire year. You can see it's just been kind of going sideways. So pretty neutral, still slightly bearish, but for the most part, if we were to look at this as supply and demand, it's very well balanced, right? Let's carry on. Let's move over into the next page, right? So when we take a look at the line graph here, you can see that there's been a spike, specifically yesterday, right? We saw 53,000 Bitcoin going off the exchanges with 43,000 Bitcoin going onto the exchanges. So people are removing their Bitcoin from the exchanges after buying it, essentially. Now, if we compare this to the 2018 time period, as in basically the 1st of January 2019 through to the 15th of June 2019, you can see that we had 8.2116 million Bitcoin going onto the exchanges and 8.1814 million coming off the exchanges. That means that in 2019, we have significantly more volume of Bitcoin being moved around, okay? This isn't an indication of buying volume. This is an indication of Bitcoin going to exchanges and coming off the exchanges. And this is quite an important thing, because it means that there's actually a lot of people moving a lot of Bitcoin around back in 2019 during the start of the last bullish market for Bitcoin. And well, we have nearly half that volume right now. And you might think, well, Bitcoin's price is dramatically different, and you know that's going to be a driving factor. And I think, okay, well, let's take a look at 2015. In 2015, the volumes were 5.6478 million going onto the exchanges and 5.5312 million coming off the exchanges, same time period, 1st of January 2015 through to the 15th of June 2015. So the volume, when price was significantly lower, was actually not actually that much bigger than we are right now, right? And this is all about not necessarily price, but volume of Bitcoin moving around, because we are talking, you can have a fraction of a Bitcoin, it all counts. We have bigger circulating supplies now than we had back in 2015, but the volumes are significantly lower. This just shows that there's a lack of interest, there's a lack of demand for BTC over the last few months or so. And this is noticeable when we start taking a look at the start of the previous bullish markets. And a lot of people are thinking, or were thinking anyway, that we were in a bullish market with because the candlesticks were representing very similar patterns, right? But ultimately, the underlying data is vastly different. We speak about this all the time. But for the most part, volumes are low in terms of moving around between the exchanges and people's wallets. And yeah, it's not enough to give you kind of confidence in the space. But it does beg the question, right? If we have slightly more Bitcoin flowing away from the exchanges right now, where's it going, right? And that's really where the wallet count data comes in. So a wallet data, this is specifically the number of wallets that have Bitcoin in them, okay? So the number of wallets that have over 0.01 Bitcoin in them, right here we can see is 0.59 million, right? So we know that there's a significant accumulation here for small retail wallets, right? We can see that here. So it's been going up a little bit over the last few days as prices come on down. Okay, now this is not going to help you with a bullish market, in my opinion. And that's simply because these are emotional retail investors at the most vulnerable level, which essentially means that they are more than likely going to have knee-jerk reactions to, price movement and things like that. With that being said, if we scale this up into the kind of more retail-based wallets, the more typical ones that you would tend to find, which would be what I've named krill, shrimp, and dolphins. So on the right-hand side, over 0.1 Bitcoin, you can see that they've been accumulating. They've been accumulating all of this here. They buy every dip known to man. This is not a sustainable model for Bitcoin, and it is going to be problematic for us further down the line. Okay, so the type of individual that holds Bitcoin is critically important to the price appreciation of Bitcoin. And what at the moment what we see is a lot of retail investors, as you can kind of see with these three here, over 0.1, over 1, and over 10 Bitcoin. They all have been accumulating. They're buying the dip, right? But that's not necessarily a good sign. It's not a good sign because these are retail investors. Retail investors do not act logically. They act emotionally, at least for the majority. There are, of course, the minority that do the opposites to that and are acting more logical. With all that being said, though, for the most part, this is potentially Bitcoin in the wrong hands if you want a bullish market. Because it is too many people's reactions to kind of consider, right? The herd mentality will be that they will sell, and they'll sell for many different reasons. The most pressing one in my mind, the reason that we're going to see eventually some selling pressure here for retail investors, is going to be the fact that we are coming into recessions, and we are going to see a lot of people lose their jobs. And as such, the money tap will be turned off, and there will be very little money to come into crypto. But above and beyond that, there's going to be a need to sell off assets if you want to be paying your mortgages, for example. And I think retail investors, if they haven't already kind of cottoned on to what is potentially around the corner here, are going to be in a spot of trouble. Essentially, I think it's going to be a necessity for some retail investors to sell off their crypto assets if they want to keep food on the tables, keep their families warm and fed, and all that kind of stuff. Now, I don't want that to happen, but I think there's a high probability of it. It's something that a lot of people were trying to avoid, thinking it's going to be something that actually occurs, but I think it is. We've got a housing crisis, we've got unemployment that is going to rise incredibly fast. We're going to see a lot of businesses kind of going out of business as well. Lots of things to kind of consider here. So to see Bitcoin in the hands of the most vulnerable investors doesn't give me much confidence. But we can go deeper than that, because if these guys are buying, they're buying it from somewhere, right? Retail investors don't buy directly from exchanges, where that is technically possible from time to time. It isn't actually how this market works. Typically, what happens is you are buying from another retail investor or another investor of sorts. And as such, you enter your buy into the order books, someone's entered their sell into the order books, and then when their things match, or price matches, you can basically buy and sell between each other, right? And the exchanges take a commission, they take a fee for that. So if you're seeing a lot of retail investors buying right here, well, Bitcoin's coming from somewhere, and it's coming from here. Okay, these are your institutional smart money funds, right? Over 100 Bitcoin on the right, over 1,000 Bitcoin per wallet in the middle, and over 10,000 Bitcoin on the left, right? And we can see, there's a little bit of an increase here on the sharks, but actually that's because they dumped aggressively. They bought this dip recently. But again, these are pro-level traders. Maybe they're going to make a mistake here. Maybe they're actually doing a fantastic trade. We don't know, but that's trading level stuff going on there. We then have the whales, which are basically the market manipulators along with the Kraken. They basically push the price and towards liquidity. Most recently, you can see here that they've been coming out of their positions. Now, this is just a 90-day view, and over 90 days, this doesn't really give you a bigger holistic view. But for the most part, if you've got retail investors buying, they're buying it from somewhere, and it looks like they're buying it from the larger institutional investors, which brings me to my point of this video. We saw on Twitter that people are saying that that institutional investors are buying Bitcoin. Look, and they posted a chart, and that chart essentially was basically a few institutional investors buying shares in MicroStrategy. Now, buying shares in MicroStrategy is not the same as buying Bitcoin. That is essentially buying exposure to Bitcoin, without actually buying Bitcoin. It's different. Okay. Now, if you're buying Bitcoin, you're soaking up some of the supply. That's what you want from an institutional investor. You want them to have direct hands-on with Bitcoin. You want them to buy Bitcoin and you want them to store it. Okay, that soaks up the supply of Bitcoin and gets it out of the metrics of supply and demand. It gets that imbalance going, right? Now, if you're buying shares in MicroStrategy, there's no impact on supply and demand for Bitcoin. You're just showing interest in Bitcoin by buying shares in MicroStrategy. That's great. You're buying shares in a company that has Bitcoin, but it's not actually going to affect the price of Bitcoin. Okay, price of Bitcoin is driven from supply and demand, just like everything else, right? Everything comes down to supply and demand. And so when we're seeing MicroStrategy shares get bought because people want exposure to Bitcoin, great. But it's not going to affect the price of Bitcoin unless you're going to speculate that MicroStrategy will buy more Bitcoin for whatever reason, right? Because they've sold some shares. Now, again, shares, just like everything else, is supply and demand. So you might see prices of shares go up because the demand is increased and so forth. But there's nothing there of substance. And that's kind of why I wanted to do this video, right? It's not showing us an increase in institutional investors in Bitcoin. It's just showing you institutional investors in MicroStrategy, and it's different. Okay, now I'm going to move on from this, but I wanted to give you a kind of brief update. Before I do, what I will do quickly here is just zoom on out, right? So here is the retail investors over 365 days. They've been buying up like mad. This is not a sustainable model. Our Bitcoin sharks, they pumped the price up. Okay, we're buying in November. They dumped it all the way down as it got to 30k, and then they started buying up again as price retraced. These, as I said, are professional level traders. Maybe they spotted some opportunity here, maybe they haven't. They don't always get it right. Our Bitcoin whales still aggressively coming out of their positions and have done for 365 days plus. Nothing here is unusual. They are not buying in to Bitcoin at the moment. And as they say, if you want Bitcoin whales to buy, they're going to be buying it from somewhere. The only place they're going to buy it are to the retail investors that they sold it to in the first place. And they've been selling November lows. They've been selling all of this here. They aren't showing any signs of buying because retail are not showing any signs of selling. So max pain will come and it will be sold then. The Kraken size wallet has accumulated during the bear market, has just been ranging sideways ever since. We are waiting for this drop as it had in 2018. 2018 was this, accumulated during the bear market, dropped it down into the bear market low. At the moment, we are not there. We have accumulated during the bear market, but they haven't dropped it or flooded the market yet to bring in the bear market low. So all in all, interesting data, must know if you're in the crypto space, specifically for Bitcoin. But let's jump down into the price action. So, knowing that retail investors are pretty much the ones propping up the Bitcoin market at the moment doesn't give me much confidence. Now, from a smart money concepts point of view, let's jump into this. Okay, so that we are Bitcoin, BTC paired up with USDT. We're using the BitGet spot exchange on the 1 hour chart. And so following on from yesterday, we see that we had the change of character that was bearish, confirmation that we're bearish, confirmation that we're bearish. So again, we haven't broken any of that. We did actually have a move to the upside. So for the most part, this is not terribly too unusual. But we do see this. Well, let me rewind. We were first thinking that maybe there is some kind of fourth and fifth wave like this, but that's not possible anymore. And this move to the upside is looking pretty good, but we have left behind the fair value gap right in here. Okay, so as we often talk about the fair value gaps, let me just come on over into BitGet. What we'll do is we'll go to trade, we'll go to spot trading. I should have clicked Bitcoin. There it is, Bitcoin. And when it loads, there we go. Okay, we can see that we've almost filled this one, not quite, but almost filled it, right? So this is a fair value gap that was not marked by 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, and we can see in here that there is another fair value gap down at this low end that has almost filled but not quite, so we'll draw that in as well. And one of the good things about BitGet, guys, is it doesn't clear your trading view drawings on the chart, so they stay, which is cool. But you can see here that fair value gap, right? That is created because there was an imbalance in the order books. So much buying pressure on the low side at 25,161, not enough liquidity to fulfill the buy orders until price went to 25,351. That's where the sellers were, so that buyers could buy from them. Everything has to be in balance, right? And as such, we left the gap behind. Price tried to come down, but hasn't quite filled it, in the same way that price hasn't quite filled this higher one either. You can see that there's a slight overlap there. So for the most part, we're probably going to have to pull back down into this range and also move back up again. Okay, in order to kind of restore liquidity to where liquidity was not. Now, there's not a guarantee that these gaps get filled out, and I talk about this pretty much every day at the moment. But for the most part, it is something that that typically you would expect to kind of see gradually over time. So just note, fair value gaps currently sit at 25,161 to 25,351, and on the larger side it's 25,187 to 25,840. So price is likely to move in both directions, I suspect down before up. Right, so that's BitGet, right? And it kind of you can use BitGet here to show us the trading view chart, draw on the chart, and obviously have access to those order books to get an understanding. If you're going to analyze the order books, you can obviously do that from here as well. Now, if you're looking for a new exchange that's not Binance, or maybe you're a little bit fearful over Binance and a few of these other exchanges in the US, then why not check out BitGet, linked in the description down below. If you do use the affiliate link in the description below, you can take advantage of up to $8,000 in bonuses and rewards for signing up using that link. There's many different tasks you have to kind of complete and all that kind of stuff, but more is available on that link, so do click that one below. If you do sign up using the affiliate link in the description below, you'll also be able to automatically take a part of the Cheeky Crypto BitGet trading competition that we do every single week, where we have 100 USDT made available for the person who has the best ROI percentage for that week. So if that's of interest to you, why not check it out? The affiliate link is in the description down below. Let's jump back into our charts. So knowing that we've got the fair value gap here and here allows us to understand, what the most probable scenario is. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump on over into our Elliott wave. Okay, because this does actually start to make a lot more sense when we start to kind of pull these things together. So Elliott wave theory is telling us that we have some interesting structure here. Now we want to kind of think of this as a 5-wave structure to the upside. Okay, and I am concerned over this wick right in here, where it does make that very difficult to kind of believe. Okay, but for the most part, I think we've either already completed the 5th wave or we're going to complete the 5th wave. I'm kind of leaning on the path of we've completed it. Okay, so it looks like we've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 like this. I think that's kind of what's gone on. And we are finding support on the 50 EMA at the moment just in here. Okay, but the expectation is going to be to move on down just a fraction. Okay, so we are looking to kind of fill that fair value gap. But the interesting thing here is that we've got to consider a couple of different scenarios. We've started with 5 waves, in my opinion. Okay, and as such, we then should expect another 5-wave move to the upside, but that won't happen until we first correct it down. Okay, so I'll look at this as a zigzag pattern: A wave up, B wave to come down, and then another C wave to come on up. Okay, but I'm probably not thinking that we're going to break higher than our swing high at 26,433, not yet anyway. So all in all, that would then put us with another 3-wave structure right in here, like so. Okay, that then completes our idea of a 3-wave structure this side. Okay, basically bringing us into a potential 3-wave structure finishing here, a 3-wave structure finishing here. That is really alarming to me because it makes me think that we might be in a contracting diagonal of sorts, and that means that we'll have a small move up and then a really small move to the downside before we finally get that big swing opportunity where I do imagine that we'll visit 29-30k Bitcoin again. So all in all, it's looking pretty good. Now we cannot ignore the fact that we did hit our 1.618 target yesterday. That's down here at $24,864. This essentially means that we're still potentially in those nested structures as well. They cannot be ruled out just yet either. So lots of things to consider here with Bitcoin, but for the most part, my expectations are that we're still bearish, and we do expect the occasional rally from time to time, but ultimately looking for cheaper Bitcoin on the macro. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. If you found this useful and informative, smash the like button. I do appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, then why not subscribe? Don't forget to join us down in Discord, and if you're looking for a new exchange, check out BitGet, affiliate link in the description below. Until the next one though, guys, have a fantastic day.
We are not financial advisors, and none of what we have communicated verbally or in writing here should be considered as financial advice. It is not. Do your own research before investing in any digital asset or affiliate offers, and understand that investing in any crypto is risky. If you do, you need to be prepared to lose your entire investment. This video is for information and entertainment purposes only. All our videos are strictly personal opinions. Please make sure you do your own research and never take our opinions for financial guidance. There are multiple strategies, and not all strategies fit all people. Our videos are not financial advice.